All right, we should be live. Double check Facebook. All right, we are good. We're all set. So we can go ahead and get started. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to another City Updates live broadcast. I'm Jamie Chavez, your host with the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and we're thrilled to have you with us today. Thank you for joining. As always, we are here to bring you the latest insights straight from City Hall, featuring conversations with our councilors, mayor, our mayor pro tem, and other city leaders. And it's your backstage pass to what's happening here in Westminster. If this is your first time joining us for the broadcast, thank you, special welcome. You can like our Facebook page to get notifications for when we go live in the future. Or if you are on YouTube, you can hit subscribe and also watch previous broadcasts there as well. While Mondays on the broadcast are all about city updates, on Wednesdays we offer a chance to meet some of the newest members of the chamber and learn about their businesses or organizations. And so I encourage you to join us for those as well. And then on the last Friday of the month, I speak with Jefferson County Commissioner Tracy Kraft-Tharp. This month, due to the holiday, it will be a week early. And it will also be my last interview with Commissioner Kraft-Tharp. So be sure to join us for that one. And then as you watch this broadcast, please feel free to engage with us, drop any comments, ask any questions, or simply say hello in the comments section. And we will get to those questions and comments during the interview. And now, finally, a warm welcome to City Councilor Claire Carmelia. How are you today?
I am fantastic. Good morning, Westminster. Good morning to you, Jamie. I am so grateful, as always, that you host these. Thank you for everything you do for our community.
Yeah, thank you for being with us. We have a couple people joining us. Good morning, Dave. Thanks for joining. And good morning, Parker. Good to see you guys on here today. Well, why don't we get started, Councilor, with just kind of an update from you on what's going on at City Hall and anything else that you'd like to update people on.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we head into the holidays, we are having our second to last meeting this evening. And then next week, City, we will also hold a session. And then after that, we'll go on pause for 2 weeks over the holidays. And so just know if you have items that you want to bring up, you can show up tonight or next week. And my biggest update that I'd like folks to know is that as we go into the next year, we're doing things a little bit different around the budget, which is really the most important thing that we do at City Hall is create and maintain that budget. And so we're doing that a little earlier next year than we did last year, which I think is a great idea. We are having our strategy meeting on the 1st. So what that means for folks is I need to hear from you. We all do. All City Council needs to hear from you and what your priorities are that first month of next year. So if you have items that you would like to bring to the table, concerns that you think that we should hear, make sure that we know about it in January. And so I will be meeting with residents regularly. Send me an email. I would love to hear from you. I have a feeling it's going to be pretty easy. Pretty busy, sorry. In January for a lot of those conversations. And so I might be doing more phone calls than one-on-one meetings. But either way, reach out because I would like to hear what your priorities are for next year's budget. And I'm only going to have 4 weeks to get those conversations in. So that's my information blast to say, bring your news to me. I would like to hear from you. And we're going to do rapid fire in those first early weeks in January to hear everyone's thoughts and concerns around the budget. That said, I'll pause it for just a second there, but then I have one more update around tonight's meeting.
Okay. Well, just in terms of the budget, are there any specific things that maybe people in the business community might be paying more attention to or should be paying more attention to?
Good question. And so, of course, we haven't really got that ball rolling yet for next year, so much to come there. Nothing is for certain. But I could say there's a pretty high probability that we're going to be talking about that failed measure around that fire department ask, right, that they had to expand by 4 stations. And so I know that that's going to be top of mind as we go into our budget cycle, is trying to figure out how to rebuild that ask of the community. And so do I know whether or not that will be proposed this year? I don't know. And I don't know what that will look like. I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit more comprehensive this time around. Hopefully, in my personal hope is that we include the need for our roads, because right now I know that we've got a $16 million ask from our roads, from our facilities department to improve our roads, which we all need good roads for businesses and residents alike. So I want to hopefully incorporate that. And maybe it ends up being smarter to roll this around in the following year. I don't know whether this will come this year or not, but I do know it'll be part of our discussions for sure. And that's top of mind, seeing as the first proposal last year was a sales use tax, as we know. And so if we have really good ideas of what we want to see, bring them over. That's what businesses should be paying attention to for sure.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. All right. And you had a second topic?
Yes, thank you. So I just remembered, I'm like, oh yeah, there was more to this. So tonight I'm really excited because we are going to be looking at the Westminster, I forget what they called it now, I'm sorry, but there's a survey that went out to residents, and it's our, I think it's like our Westminster Vision Plan survey. And it went out to, over 900 residents, and they do it every 2 years. And it means that we get to see the feedback from the community about what residents would like to focus on and what their feedback is on how well they think we're doing as a city. So I'm just really excited to take a look at that information and have that discussion. And I do believe that this is a great topic for anyone, no matter what your special interest is in the city, to tune into and get a look at, and make sure that even from your own perspective, are you aligned with the values of the residents in Westminster, right? And so I saw a lot of the different topics looked like the positives are ones that we are familiar with, I believe, which are our PRL, right? Our Parks, Rec, and Library seems to be doing really well. Folks are happy with that. And folks feel like we have a clean city and that we have, like, it's a great place to live. I think it was like 83% on satisfaction on living in Westminster. So that's fantastic. We've got outstanding scores. It looks like overall we beat a lot of cities on the Front Range. And so these are all really great metrics. And then it looked like, and of course, we'll be hearing more from the city staff tonight, but it looks like the items that we could use some improvement are ones that we've heard repeatedly over the last several months as well. So this is both a good and bad thing, right? It means that there's areas of improvement, and it also means that we're already aligned with what we believe the city needs. So I saw that around crime. I believe that we've heard from some of the businesses and residents that we have some concerns around crime. And so we need to figure out how to get the visibility of our police out there. We now have the numbers, right? We're doing a great job in our police force. And so how do we make sure that residents are seeing that difference and that difference is visibly marked to the community? And then around, I think it was, how did they put it? Something around, it was around cleanliness, but I had a different name. But either way, I think it refers back to graffiti, which we've heard a lot about. And so I can see that being a top concern. And then, of course, there was traffic, which is always a concern. Do I know how we're going to fix traffic? No, I don't. But please know that I am equally invested on figuring out how to solve the traffic issue. So those are things that we hear time and time again. And so I think it's really great to have a survey like this that says, this is what everyone is saying. You're not just in a bubble. Sometimes we can get in a bubble of information. And so I'm just really excited to hear the feedback from the staff about what the residents are saying. And this is the opportunity for folks that maybe don't come to all our town halls. Hopefully they received this survey and they could give their input, and so that we can hear from them.
Awesome. Is the survey still active? Are people still able to complete the survey, or is the city now kind of taking that data and analyzing it?
That's a great question. I am pretty sure that the data is being analyzed, and so the survey is closed.
Okay.
We can ask that tonight to get clarification, but I'm pretty sure at this point it's been closed.
Okay. And we have a question from Dave, I think going back to the budget. I know the state is looking at a large number of cuts in their budget. Do you know if Westminster will be facing a similar proportional revenue shortfall next year?
Great question. From what I know right now, the answer is no. So that's great news. We're doing really well with our budget. The city of Westminster is known for, receiving the Triple Crown around their finances. We are extremely stable in balancing our budget every year. And we want to make sure, of course, that we continue that. And I am extremely invested in making sure that we have a tight budget. And so I'm going to be, I was just talking about this the other day with someone, actually. I'm going to be very involved from day one on the building of the budget. What does that look like from the individual departments until it rolls up into that larger picture? And how do we make sure that we maintain a tight budget year over year? That said, the state is facing shortfalls right now. Those are not affecting our city, but we want to be sure that we tighten our buckle anyway, because we want to be prepared, right, for anything, because a lot of times there are downstream effects. And so our staff are already well aware. That was mentioned, I think a month or so ago, that we want to be prepared for anything over the next several years. But right now for next year, we look to be in great shape. And then what we really want to look for, of course, from the state is any more of those unfunded mandates. So we're going to keep a close eye on those and then ensure that we get our feedback, from our lobbyists and our attorneys to the state to say, if what happens when they have a gap in their budget, right, is they end up passing along a lot of that to the city. So we'll just have to be really careful and mindful of what we are deciding to support at the state level.
Got it. Thank you. And thank you for the question, Dave. You kind of mentioned traffic and some other things, and I think Westminster is growing, which is great. And so I'm wondering how you see the city balancing development with also preserving this unique character and kind of the community values that we have here in Westminster.
Absolutely. And at this time, I think we've had this narrative that we are growing, which we are somewhat, but at this point, that is changing, and it really is changing this coming year and the following year. We're in a transition state from a growth to a solidly built out city, right? There is less than 2% left of land left to fill out. And so that means that our mindset around what the city looks like will have to change. And it also means that where we get our money from is going to have to change, seeing as at this time it's been based on growth. That said, there is still growth happening, right? And so how do we balance that? We are fortunate to be in a city that has more open space. I think it's second to Boulder in the amount of actual acreage. And as folks hopefully already know from this last year, that is a huge priority for me, is to preserve that open space. I stand firm on protecting our areas of land that are not built out. And in my opinion, that means open space equals wilderness. And so that means not built out in any way, shape, or form, right? And that protects the land for the land's intrinsic value, and it protects our views, and it protects really that culture of having the air to breathe. People are in Colorado because they love being in Colorado, because they love the air, the mountains, the native grasses. I mean, they love what this land has to offer, right? They're here for a reason. And so we do want to protect that, and that is one of my absolute top priorities. But just knowing that in our development of our city code, we have language that asks for a certain percentage of land every time we have a developer come to us, right? A land to be set aside for parks or open space. And so we have that land dedication. And I believe that that is a big reason why our city is so successful in having as much open land as we do. So no matter what happens next, we already have built into our system a really reliable way of ensuring that we have a good balance.
Got it. Thank you. What are some of the bigger challenges that you see facing Westminster right now?
I think it is what we just talked about around that transition. I think that we have begun some of those discussions, but I don't think we've fully really addressed it yet. We need to hear from all sorts of stakeholders on how we're going to address the transition from being a growth city to an infill, because it really will affect where our city gets its money from. And so we've had no problems to date, right? We have everything we want because we have had land, right? And so once we're built out, what does that mean? And I don't know exactly what that means, but I believe that we should really concentrate this year on having those conversations and figuring out where we go next. Right. So I think that's the biggest thing, is that transition. And I want to make sure that we're working closely with our city staff, with our new city manager, Jody, who's brilliant. I know he has the experience under his belt to give strong suggestions for how we transition. But we're going to have to start thinking differently about things. And we can't place it all on businesses, as you well know. And so, what does that look like?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And so you mentioned kind of people getting involved, and what's the best way, and how do you encourage residents to get more involved in local government and in the decision-making process?
I love that question. I am always trying to get folks more involved, so thank you. Attend your town hall. I highly, highly suggest that you come to City Hall. We have meetings every Monday, and if you've never been to one, just show up, sit in the back, for your first one or two and listen so that you have an idea about what folks are talking about right now and what's current. And then I really encourage you to do public comment about anything under the sun. You can talk about whatever it is that you want. It doesn't have to be, something on the agenda. It doesn't have to be a major issue. You do not have to do a survey and poll your entire neighborhood. If it matters to you, then it probably matters to a lot of other people in our city. And so I encourage you to just come up and say, whatever's on your mind, good or bad, because it really helps, by the way, to hear the positive as well. When things go right, we don't often hear that. And then every now and then when we get that feedback at public comment, then we know, oh, this went well. And so let's replicate that. Let's do more of that. And we need to know that too. So I encourage you to come out. And then, of course, you can come and talk to us individually. Sometimes folks feel more comfortable just talking one-on-one with a counselor before approaching the group as a whole. And I try to make myself as accessible as possible. And so I know that a lot of us do, right? We try to be accessible. And I know that I believe almost all of us will have a coffee with you individually if you ever want to meet. So just reach out with an email. We are fortunate to have our emails and phone numbers listed on our City Westminster government webpage. I have noticed when trying to reach out to other electeds that sometimes that information is not there. So I say that because not every city has that info very readily accessible. So you can get our emails, you can get our phones, and just reach out, and then I will schedule a coffee. I need to figure out what my coffee schedule is going to look like for the next calendar year, but I will be having them. I will say this publicly because I'm pretty sure this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be switching to Nava just to maybe each year have a different coffee house that I am meeting at. I think that feels like the right thing to do. It'll probably be at the same time, but I want to be careful about saying all that quite yet. So as I mentioned in our pre-chat before we went live, Jamie, I am still trying to figure out what my year looks like. And so I'll get that out in January and figure out exactly when I can be available if residents are comfortable meeting with me at the same time as other residents. So sometimes we have larger issues and several folks want to come and meet at once, or maybe it's not a private issue and they don't mind having other folks at the table. Then you have a standing time that you can find me and just show up. And I think that makes it easier for folks to try to remove those barriers, right, as much as possible. Then you don't have to reach out and set something up. So I'll figure that out. Probably be Nava, probably be on Saturday mornings.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you. Well, we talked a little bit about 2025 and just kind of the month of December is always, there's so much going on in December. And so I'm just curious what you've been up to, what have been some of your favorite events that you've gone to, and what are you hoping that people will attend for the rest of the year?
Good question. I think a lot of the events were over this past weekend for what they can attend. So I don't know if there's anything left right now to attend. I might be wrong. I'm not sure. I'll have to leave you on pause there. But we had the Christmas tree lighting this weekend, which was fantastic. And unfortunately, I got to be honest, I couldn't make it this year. I had a work holiday party. I was out of town this weekend, which I will get into as well. I was really daring. I went outside of my comfort zone this weekend and I skied for the first time in my whole life.
Great.
I know. I have told everyone I know that I am not a winter sports person. I'm an indoors person, but it was really easy. I can't even believe it. The person that was teaching me, they said that I was the fastest learner they had. So I feel really proud.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knew, right? Apparently I can ski. So that was a blast. So anyway, I missed the holiday tree lighting. I'm sorry. I will definitely try to be there next year. That said, I know that there's a lot of community things going on. We had just talked about the kids' schools, right, doing their choir performances, and those are staggered throughout the month. So try to get hit those up because I think it's important to support the kids wherever we can. That said, I will be performing this coming weekend for a holiday performance with the Astor Broomfield Choir. If anyone wants to come down there, it's not exactly Westminster, but Astor performs at the Broomfield Auditorium next Saturday and Sunday. So that's really exciting. And I was just talking to David, who also has a performance in January. So anyway, I mentioned those because while the city offers a lot of events, a lot of the community, there's other organizations in the community that also do exciting events. And one of the many things that I would like to concentrate on, I'm also a liaison for the North Metro Arts Alliance. I would just like to help, more awareness around the folks and the organizations that are already, putting on great performances. How do we get them the support they need? How do we get them the money they need? How do we, make sure that our community is showing up for them? I think that's really important, as well as all of the structural things that a city does is, okay, how can we be there for each other? How do we get more awareness out there about all the different amazing things that are going on? So I brought those up just to say there's a lot of other things happening. That said, I was going to bring up something else that happened early. Oh, of course. I'm sorry. The downtown lighting ceremony. We had our first ever downtown lighting ceremony a few weeks ago. And I bring that up just to say a big thank you to yourself, Jamie. You did a fantastic job of getting that organized. And a thank you to everyone else who helped participate in that downtown lighting. It was exactly everything I could have hoped for. We saw our businesses get outside. We are finally activating that new downtown space that we have invested so much time and money in. And I know folks are really eager to get out and see it and use that space. And that is just an area that I hope we can all agree on is something I really want to concentrate on, is how do we activate our third spaces? How do we support our small businesses? How do we have more fun and places to go that are also free for families and children to just show up and walk around? And so I have a lot of thoughts around that. I would love to see that more often. Maybe we have a market, every other weekend over the summer or something like that. I hope we can talk more about that and make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. The lighting ceremony, I think, was particularly exciting because we didn't really know what to expect, and a bunch of people came and really had a good time. And so it just shows that people are ready for that space to be accessible and available and have stuff going on down there. So yeah, it's super exciting.
Yeah, great job. I'm so excited. I came and I was like, yes, this is what I want to see. This is everything. And I think that's what everyone in Westminster wants to see. So yeah. Fantastic job.
Awesome. Well, what about looking into 2025? I know you're still kind of planning your year, but are there any programs or events that you're particularly excited for 2025?
Programs. I don't know if I'm following. I'm sorry. I obviously have a big year. If you're alluding to that, I am entering the mayoral race, and so I'll be concentrating on that throughout 2025. I will have a much clearer idea probably in January once I really do strategy around what that looks like. And then, of course, once I figure out when my kickoff is, everyone's invited. So I hope you come, whether, we all have decisions to make down the line about who we support, but no matter what, I'm here for the community and I'm here to listen to you. And so I think it's important to, show up if possible, just because I want to be there for you and everyone who's listening, That said, as far as programs for 2025, I think that our city's PRL department is continuing to really concentrate on a lot of the activities that they've been doing over the last few years that have been extremely successful, as we've seen, such as Movies in the Park and Westy Fest. And, they've just been doing a great summer block series. And we did ask them to maybe cut down, because there was a lot. I don't even remember how many activities there were last year, but there was a lot. So while it's extremely successful, I think we're trying to hone in on which ones are the most successful, right? And trying to figure out what it really is that residents want to see more of. So I think we're going to be concentrating a little bit more on those programs and just honing in and figuring out, okay, which ones can we drop and which ones can we do more of, and really provide folks with what it is they want to see and where it is they want to be.
Yeah, it's probably a challenge to figure out what that mix is, because you want events that bring out, a different variety of people too. You don't just want to see the same people at every event. So yeah, just kind of a mix so that everyone in the community feels that there's something that they're going to be welcome at. So yeah, that's probably pretty difficult. But what's one of the things that you wish that more residents knew about City Council's work and what you all do?
Good question. I wish they knew, and some folks do know, but I think to your point there, it's a smaller group of folks who are very activated. But I wish that a wider audience in our city knew how important their input is to our processes. We really do listen, and our city manager will also meet with residents one-on-one anytime that there's an issue that, someone has that they want to be discussed, as well as ourselves, as I said earlier. And that informs our decisions down the line. I've had a lot of conversations with folks who are perhaps less involved in politics or don't understand how it works. And they seem to think that, things don't matter, or their voice doesn't matter, or maybe to a larger extent their vote doesn't matter. And that's, that goes a little bit more into national politics. But I just want to say, especially at the local level, this is your chance to really have an input and to say into the day-to-day happenings that most likely affect your life the most. And so this is the highest impact level of government to you, is your city level. And we are highly responsive to that input that you provide. So, anytime I get feedback, that really does inform my vote about what it is that I do and say. And sometimes things are not on my radar, and it's on several residents' radar. And when that is brought up, then we do something about it, right? I can't do anything about an issue that I don't know about. Westminster is a very large city, and there are different issues happening all around the city that might in fact impact folks in one neighborhood and not another. And so if we're only hearing folks in one neighborhood, then that's the story we're going to get. We're not going to get that other story. And so I need to hear from everyone. And that's why I, again, encourage and invite folks to come out and speak or just write an email, because it does matter. And I can't tell you how much it matters. It might change something, and the results are probably faster than any other level of government you're going to see, right? We might make that change the very next month, and then boom, everything's different because you decided to speak up.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Okay, and then I have another question for you that just kind of a fun one. In 3 words, how would you describe Westminster? They can be just 3 descriptive words, or like a 3-word sentence.
This is difficult. I need I love haikus, but I need like an hour to prepare one. So yeah. I feel like this is like a haiku challenge. Okay, let's see. The first thought is open space, but how do I say that in 1 word to save myself some words? So
nature?
Yes. So let's see. Nature. And then we have a really involved community, which I love, really activated, and they show up a lot. And a lot of councils, by the way, do not have that. Like, they'll tell me that they have 5 minutes of public comment, and I'm like, what? We have 2 hours, 3 hours. So
am I jealous of that, or am I glad that
I'm just grateful that folks know that, that they know to show up, so it's a good thing. So I'm going to say, I'm going to replace, it is nature, but I'm going to say beautiful, activated, and we have a really great culture. So what's a good word? And I'll just say culture. So beautiful, activated culture.
That's great. Thank you. We have like a minute left. Is there anything else that you would like to mention to the viewers?
Not at this time. I'll use my minute to say thank you. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for the great work with our businesses in the community. And also, I will say this, if I haven't heard from you and you are a business owner, maybe you don't live in Westminster, your voice also matters. So feel free to reach out to me, and I'd love to meet you.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. And thanks for all the viewers that joined us live today. And I hope that everybody enjoys the rest of their week.
Thanks all.
Have a good one.